Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to the Pocket Razors channel, and welcome to another episode of Pocket Talk. This is going to be Pocket Talk episode number 6, and we've got another very special guest with us. We've got Donald Bless with Bless Knives here. So let's pop on over here and get Donald in here and find out a little bit more about his story. Hey, Donald, how you doing, my man? Welcome to Pocket Talk. Glad to have you on here.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing really well, really well. Thank you for taking the time to be here.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. So, as I think that you're probably a little bit aware of, you said you've seen a few Pocket Talks. We like to kind of find out your story. You know, who's Donald Bless? How did he get involved in the knife and EDC uh, community? And how did you get from being a little Donald to being the Donald that we're getting to know in the knife community now? And where did Bless Knives come about? So. It's kind of your stage, sir. Just have at her and share what you would like to share with us. So,
All right, brother. Yeah, I mean, giving me the stage. I mean, I don't know. It's a move.
we like to
Uh,
live on the edge here. It's okay.
that's
We'll
what
have a
I'm
good
saying,
time.
yeah. So I've been making knives for probably about 6 years now. Um, yeah, to take it back, I guess. I've been carrying knives since I was a kid. Both my parents were big proponents of knives. My dad always had a knife, usually just, some run of the mill cheap buck knife or, whatever you get at the, normal store, Kmart, Walmart, whatever was going on back then. Uh, and my mom, I mean, her dad used to hunt and stuff when she was little, so she had like a fixed blade since she was a little kid. So she was always big, like, supporter of like using knives in a daily operation. Um, I got to preface this with though, like I am a total city kid. Like I don't come from the country or nothing like
Okay,
that.
right
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Uh, but so my very even though my parents bought me knives and they were supportive of it, my very first knife was from my uncle Bobby. Uh, he gave me my first knife. I wish I tried to look for it. I got it buried away. So I still have it. I got it when I was about 6 years old, I'd say. I mean, Ferngully just came out uh, a couple of years. I don't know. I was young. Yeah, 6, 8 years old. Probably got my
Right.
first knife. It was a little yellowish plastic eagle shaped knife. It was real small. Had a little red ruby eye. It was
Okay.
made in China. It was a little like cheap lockback knife.
Sure.
Got definitely cut myself pretty bad on that a few times as a wee child. Learned my lesson. You got
That's
to
how we learn,
learn.
right? Yeah.
You got to learn to respect it. You know what I mean? Uh,
100%.
and yeah, my parents were always cool with that. So I always had a knife, and I never took it to school or nothing like that. But yeah, so I was just always carrying a knife. Like
Nice.
uh, yeah.
Cool.
Um,
When did one knife start to turn into multiples? Did you just kind of acquire them along the way, or was it just
yeah,
a small few knives here and there and till the
yeah. I
bug
didn't even
bit you?
think.
Or
Yeah, I didn't even think about that aspect. Yeah. So I had a couple of knives when I was younger. My parents bought me your stuff, and then like, kind of got into it, so I'd start asking for them. For like birthdays, Christmas, whatever. Any chance I could get, I'm like, oh, give me a knife.
right, right.
I remember having a couple cool ones over the years. Still cheaper, low end stuff, obviously. Buck knives and stuff. There was one in the '90s. It was a buck knife. It was like all silver, but it had like speed holes in it. It was like one of the first ones I think they did with speed holes.
Okay.
It was sweet. I love that knife as a kid. Um, yeah, and then I started getting a little older, and then I was like, well, I kind of branch out and see what's out there, And we had a couple stores around town that sold outdoor stuff and whatever. And I got my first bench made probably when I was. Now this is later. I didn't actually start buying my own, because I had like cheaper stuff, and I had bought
Sure.
a couple of Kershaws and like random junk like that over there. Not to say they're junk, but that's kind of the wrong thing to say. Uh,
No, I think we kind of all
I was
kind of
thinking,
kind of go through that. Until you kind of start to understand and appreciate maybe better quality knives and the subtleties of them a little bit. I think a lot of people, just think of it. Well, it's a gas station knife. It's a cheap knife. Kind of a nothing special kind of a deal. But yeah, no, I get that.
You know,
Yeah.
so and I had a few of those, and then so I started tattooing, or I started working at a tattoo shop when I was in my early 20s,
Okay.
and so first time I had a little bit of money, and so I bought my first Benchmade.
Oh, very cool.
Um, yeah, and I got a Benchmade 940. It was like the
Okay.
first gen 940-1, I think, or whatever.
Hmm.
Loved this thing, like carried it all the time. Ended up getting two more Benchmades. I got a 580 Barrage, which is like a semi-auto, and then I
Hmm.
got I can't remember the call numbers for it, but it was the Triage. It's like a
Okay.
rescue knife almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got a little hook and like a flat tipped blade.
Hmm.
Love that blade. It was a laser. Yeah, so I carried those forever, and for a while I thought those were the epitome of knives. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Uh, so I was taking over some cookies to my fellow tattoo artist one day, and this was, I'd say, 7 or 8 years ago, probably.
Okay.
And he had a small fixed blade. He was like, "Hey, Donnie, you like knives? Check this out." And he told me he had tattooed this cat and out in California, and the guy gave him a fixed blade because he was a knife maker. I was like, "What? That's fucking cool."
Yeah.
Um, so he showed it to me, and it was just like a real small, like 2 finger, like fixed blade. Had a blue like G10 handle. Um, and I'm looking at this thing, like I can make this. These are my thoughts. So I'm pretty
Yeah.
crafty. I've always been involved in art, pottery in school, building skateboard ramps, working on cars. I count that as art.
100%.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Hey, I'm in the
Uh,
business, man. I appreciate automotive art with the best of them. So,
oh, cool. Right on. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I'm no master mechanic, but I can do
yeah.
some damage. Uh, but yeah, so I've always been involved in building things with my hands, semi-artistic values as far as that goes. So I felt confident. I was good with tools and all that. So I went and got me a piece of whatever steel and started filing it into a knife-shaped object. And then I was like, all right, okay, all right. Well, we need to go further than this. So then I started playing around with, like most people do, grinding out old files, stuff like that. I actually have the first finish knife I ever made. If you want to check it out.
Oh yeah, 100%. So
Uh,
here, let me do this. I'm gonna pop this up so we get you a little bit better shot on there.
cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Are we all good? So we got this guy here. Oh, I can't hear you anymore, but this is the first one I ever made. Uh, Finish knife, at least. Uh, just an
Pretty
old
cool.
file. Yeah, still got the. I don't know if you can actually see it, but I left all the filing on the edge or on the spine here.
Very
You can
nice.
you can see it on the flats. Uh,
Very
yeah, this is
cool.
the first one I ever fully made. Uh, I tempered it down and then just ground it out, so I didn't have to like heat treat it or anything.
Okay.
And as you can see by this notch, if you can see this notch here,
Yeah. Got a little chunk out there.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
clearing some weeds from my wall out here, and I hit one of those big nails that holds the wooden tie wall together.
Yeah. Yeah. Got
But yeah,
uh,
well,
got your attention and took your chunk of your blade. Yep.
oh yeah, oh
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. So
Uh,
you mostly started out just kind of with hand tools, doing that kind of just mostly hand filing, shaping
yep,
kind of stuff, or at that
yeah.
point.
But that was very short lived.
Okay.
I made a couple. So I built a file jig, and I filed a couple. Again, they were like mild steel things or old files that I had annealed, and then tried to like heat treat, which was a failure. But yeah, I did a few, maybe three or four, using a file and stuff. And then I bought a 1x30 grinder, and I made, again, maybe three or four very, very small knives with that. And I just decided I wanted to learn how to make knives like properly.
Okay.
So I said, and I was tattooing at the time. So now this is about 6, 7 years ago. Um, I was like, well, if I'm gonna learn how to make knives, I got to be able to heat treat them. So the first tool I bought was my heat treat oven.
Okay.
So I bought that, and then I started working with stainless steels like CPM 154, like right off the bat. Uh, and I filed two of those, and I was over that. So then I pretty much kind of didn't play around with it for about 6 months while I saved up money to buy my grinder, and then just down the rabbit hole I went, buddy.
Now
Uh,
you're good, right? Bring it
yeah,
on.
yeah, it's just learning new stuff every day, buying every new tooling bit I can get, which I still have. My tooling is minimal, sir. Uh, Currently, I work with a, a portable bandsaw,
Okay.
a drill press, a trim router, which I'll explain that later, and a 2x72 grinder in my kiln.
Okay.
So I have no mill, I have no surface grinder, I have no CNC work done. Uh, Very, very, still manual, even though I have a grinder and stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, all,
Sure.
all very by hand. I
Nice.
do I do everything freehand. I don't use jigs of any kind. Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh, I guess I should go back a little bit because
Okay.
I was making the fixed blades for a little while. Um, Once I got that grinder, uh, so I got the grinder. Now this is 5, 6 years ago. I was making fixed blades, and I probably made, I don't know, 60 or 70 of them. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Kind of sold them around town. A lot of friends and family at first. Uh, then I tried putting some in some stores around here. I sold one or two, nothing crazy. Um, I feel like that was a pricing thing too, though. Like I was charging a little more for my stuff than other makers in the shop at the time. I think that affected like why I didn't sell them. But
Okay.
and then with the folders, I just started building folders about 2.5 years ago, but I didn't start selling them until this year.
Okay. So those are very recent and
Very, very recent. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I'm still under the number 10 on both my models.
Okay. Yeah. So very, very young in the folders in. So
Yeah.
yep, yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I know I think said Stevie is the one person that I've seen that has kind of spoken, a fair amount about the folder that you've worked with him on. So
Said Stevie, he's a good man. He reps me hard. I appreciate him.
really does.
Yeah, I think his Ripley, I built him, is number two.
Okay.
I think it's number two.
Very cool.
Uh, as far as official, properly built ones that I allowed to be sold. Uh,
Correct. Yep.
I've had probably, 10 or more prototypes before that, but they weren't ever sold or anything like that.
Just kind of working through the process, prototyping, working on your design work and kind of figuring all that out.
Yeah, so I actually worked Blade West 2022. Hold on, what
Okay.
is it? Yeah, 2022. Um, I learned how to make folding knives that year, kind of. Uh, thought I knew what I was doing. Aesthetically, I mean, they looked pretty rad. Uh, Went to the show, made took 6 knives with me. By the time we got there, I had 5 on the table because one of them already had a problem. Uh,
Uh
and
oh.
then and then the other ones, they just weren't that great, bud. They looked really good, and my tolerances were all really good and stuff like that. But there's a lot of things I didn't know. Uh, my spring tension was all over the place on all of them. There was no consistency. Uh, my detents were kind of not there. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I just didn't really know what I was doing. And I sold nothing, uh, which is okay. Uh, so I mentioned I come from the tattoo shop world.
Right.
Uh, you work conventions, you do all that stuff as a tattoo artist. You also work daily, as a walk-in tattoo artist. Sometimes you take a zero, and that's okay. And I learned a lot from it, and I met a lot of good people, made some good connections, and because of that show, I learned how to dial in certain things that I didn't know about from meeting makers there.
Most excellent.
Yeah, so that was really awesome. I've never owned a custom knife. I never had enough money, nor exposure to it.
Hmm.
I didn't know about the kind of stuff that I'm building right now 5 years ago. I didn't know I knew people were making them, but I didn't know there was a lot of people making them. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So it was a really interesting experience to work that first show. It's totally brand new to me. Uh, yeah, it was really cool, man. Uh, kind of got off track in my own head here, so I don't really know where we're at.
That's all right. We're just telling your story, man. So,
Yeah, yeah, I'm just
yeah.
babbling them. So you gotta like rein me in here every once in a while.
Well, no, that's all good. And so that was back in 2022. And so have you learned a lot there and got some help and got working on some stuff. Have you been back to another blade show or other blade type shows anyways with
Yeah.
any knives
So
since then?
I have. So since then, since I learned that I didn't know what I was doing then, I spent pretty much the whole next year dialing in my work,
Okay.
getting it to where it needed to be. Me and my brother visited Blade Show Atlanta last year, 2023,
Okay.
uh, and I met a couple key people. Specifically, I'll shout out Robert Carter.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with who he is.
I am
He's
not,
like
no.
the grandson of Mel Pardue.
Okay.
Um, he's basically like knife royalty,
Okay.
uh, and he is an astounding maker. And I kind of made buddies with him that weekend and learned very much from this gentleman.
Nice.
Yeah, honestly, my D10s wouldn't be where they are if I hadn't spoke with this man. Well, I mean, I might have gotten there, but he helped me out.
Right.
Good man. Uh, but yeah, so we visited Blade Show, and I got a little bit better feel on kind of the custom scene, and met some more people. Continued to dial my stuff in for the rest of that year, and then this year I went to Blade Show Atlanta.
Okay.
Um, Me and my brother went down there, and I worked it. Got a table. I worked next to a couple of cool guys, and I sold the four knives I brought. So it
Awesome. A
was,
little bit different result that
yeah,
time, huh?
baby.
Right on. Right on.
Uh,
So
so that was killer. Uh, Everybody that bought my knives, Lynn Valley, Matt Shad, Gecko Customs, Steven at Gecko Customs, and Dopey. Thanks, y'all.
right
Uh,
on.
yeah.
So got it rolling. So and were those all
Yeah.
folders? Were the four that you had at the that blade show? Those were all your folders in.
Yep. I had two of my Ripley model and two of my Vapor model.
Okay, excellent. And are
Yeah.
those kind of your two models you're currently working on right now?
They
Um,
were. I've added a third since then, actually.
okay.
I've added the Newt, which is I got it right here if you want to check it out here.
Ooh, absolutely. I'll throw you back up on the big screen here for just a second and
Sounds
let
good.
you show that off here just a little bit better if I can find the right button here.
All good. So it's basically just my Ripley model, just shortened down about 1 inch on the front and 1 inch on the back when it's open. Like the front of the handle isn't shortened or whatever, but
Right.
uh, so there we go.
That's cool. Oh, I love that
Thank
blade shape.
Thank you very much. I'm bad at this
Yeah.
camera thing here. I'll turn around. I got a
No, you're
pivot
nailing it.
inlay.
Yeah.
Pivot
Right on.
inlay. This one is actually Iggy's, if you know who Iggy is. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Right on. And what's the blade steel on that one?
This one is crew wear at 65 HRC.
Oh, very nice. I love crew wear.
Yeah, I've actually just kind of started using it, and this year, and I'm really digging it. My customers are really digging it with my heat treater or whatever, so that's
Mm-hmm.
cool. I made a knife for another gentleman in the community, Frankie at What's the Point EDC. His inflictor model. It was his design. He commissioned me to build it for him. Uh, and that's in crew wear, and that one was testing. I had a little variant, so it was like 65 to 66 HRC. And from his testing videos, I mean, it's a beast, man. It's been holding up real
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I beat the snot out of some crew wear, and I can't phase it. So,
Yeah.
how is
Nice.
it to work when you're you're working with it and
Oh,
milling it and
um,
stuff like that? Is it fight you because of its toughness and its hardness, or not so much? Or
it does when you're hand sanding it. So
okay,
because I don't have a surface grinder and all that stuff, I have to like flatten everything by hand,
okay,
on a flat sheet of sandpaper on a granite surface. Um, Brother, man. So I'm taking 6 knives to Blade West this year,
right
uh,
on.
and I have been sanding them all day for 2 days. Literally, like just sitting at my table, just doing this for 2 days.
Yeah, just trying
Yeah,
to
it's
get that finish where you want it.
brutal. Well, that's the problem. I'm not even working on finish. I'm just getting them flat and parallel right now.
Gotcha.
I haven't
Okay, so
even
you just work
begun
on
to
the shape.
finish them. You know what I mean? Like, uh, so grinding them and stuff, that's really not all that bad to me.
Hmm.
But the hand work on them is just brutal.
Yeah,
At least at the higher HRC levels.
right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it's a little brutal.
yeah, I've not ever tried to work with it, but I've sharpened a fair amount of crew wear, and I
Yeah.
know when you're going to put lay down an edge and put a new profile on it. It takes a minute to get the shoulder knocked off. It
Oh
does,
yeah, for sure.
even
Yeah,
with
if you're
diamonds. It it ta-
on an edge for
it,
sure.
it takes a minute. So
Most definitely.
I can slightly feel your pain. So I've
Nice.
never done it for 2 days straight though. So
Yeah, no, no, no.
right
I
on.
just hate myself apparently. So.
Yeah. So I've been working with some crew wear. Any other blade steels that you're a fan of working with, and or you just kind of like to play
Fans
around
work.
with the variety, or
I'm still kind of dipping my toes into a lot of stuff. So when I started, I kind of got into a hole where uh, I started using. I was kind of playing with them with AEBL and CPM 154,
okay,
and I've owned knives in CPM 154, and I liked them. And then after doing my own heat treating and whatnot, I really liked it. So for like 3 years, and this was during the fixed blade making,
mm-hmm.
I literally only used CPM 154. I used it for everything, and I just took all this time dialing in the heat treat on it.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, I still haven't played with a whole lot. Um, I've used some random different Damascuses before. I've used Damasteel once. I used some Vegas Forge Damascus a couple times for a client. Uh, I've done a couple things in 3V, ABL again. Magnet Cut, I started using Magnet Cut and I really like that steel. So I spent some time dialing my heat treat in for that. Um, and I do really like that steel. Like my personal life's in Magnet Cut. Made a bunch of fixed blades in Magnet Cut.
Are
It
you
gets a lot of
finding?
hate now because of all the hype or whatever, but it really is a great steel if you have a proprietary heat treat, and all that. So
And you've got a heat treat that you've found that you like that's working to your satisfaction with it.
Yeah, most definitely. And I can even tailor a little bit up or down depending on like maybe what the intended use of the blade is, for my folders
Nice.
and stuff. Personal, so generally all my folders, they come pretty thin behind the edge. Like I'd say on average anywhere between, 7 and 10 thou probably behind the edge on my folding knives. I like thin, I like slicey, I like tall flat grinds, you know what I mean? Um,
Right. Oh, I love slicey.
yeah, yeah, I want a laser,
Yeah, yeah.
and even on my own personal life, like my personal knife is, it won't even show up on camera or whatever, but it's damn near zero ground. Like, because I just wanted to cut when I want something to cut. Like if I break it, I'll just fix it. Perks of being a maker, I guess. But
Right, right. Well, that's how you learn, right? Sometimes you've got to push the limits too far and figure out where too far is so you can bring it back in. So,
oh, that's most definitely true.
yeah.
But yeah, so my fixed blades, I like the higher HRC on most any steel that I'm using. And then, but I can tailor it down to other stuff. Like if I'm doing a fixed blade or something, it's going to see some hard use. Put it down around 62 or so. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
63.
When you get too high with it, what are some of the issues you start to see? You start to see it get chippy and brittle when it gets too hard. Is
Yeah,
that kind of what you fight on the too hard side of it?
yeah. That's the biggest thing for me, especially because I mostly do thin blades. Like I don't have any experience with them being high hardness and thicker.
Hmm.
Um, so I can't speak on that. But yeah, I've definitely broke the tip off my knife several times because it's super thin and it's
Right.
really young. Mine's Magna cut at 65 and a half, uh, which is fine if you're cutting stuff. But if you're putting lateral pressure on a zero edge ground knife, then you're gonna break it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Especially when you don't
Intended
have
use,
a yeah, especially when you have a little bit of meat backing it up, right?
Yeah, for sure,
Yep.
most
There's
definitely.
a trade-off to adding that meat in there though. It takes away from the slicey factor. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, I've never been a bruiser guy. Like these guys at like 3/16 inch or quarter inch folding knives. Like I don't know, I can't get behind it.
Yeah, well, I think there's a time and a place for it, and
Yeah, so
when you've got some kind of a task, and it's appropriate, I think so many people probably don't necessarily justify it as much as they desire it.
well,
You,
yeah,
you
I'm
know what
not
I
saying it
mean?
doesn't look
Yeah,
cool. I think it,
yeah,
I think it looks cool. Yeah,
100%, 100%, yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, no, definitely, there's a time and a place for everything, really. Just whether you want that happy medium or you want to push the extreme one way or the other. So it's just another reason to add another one to the collection, in my opinion.
that's right. And have options.
Right? Options are good.
Yeah, to be honest, I'd carry like an old school paper thin ground straight razor for everything, but that doesn't really work for everything.
No,
But it's really sharp and I like it.
right? 100%.
Yeah. Thin to win. That's
Yep.
that's where I'm at.
So, what does your daily carry look like these days? Are you generally carrying your own stuff? You still have a mixture of stuff that you're working on that you're carrying and mixing in other manufacturers' knives and stuff, or you kind of don't rotate that much?
So I don't rotate that much, which is it's mostly just because of who I am. I've only ever
Hmm.
really had a couple knives. I told you I had three Benchmades in the past,
Yeah.
but I only had like maybe two of those at one time. Like I usually only have like one. Like if I lose a knife, I get another knife, and then that's my knife. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So in recent years, I've acquired some production knives. I've had some gifts from people. I've done some trades with some stuff. So really, just now have I had more than a couple knives sitting around that aren't mine, and it sounds really snobby and it sounds ugly, but I really just still only carry my knife. Uh, Part of it though is so around the house I use a bunch of my knives all the time, but I consciously, if I leave the house, I'm like, well, how am I going to leave the house without my own wares on me? If I'm talking to somebody, oh, what do you do for a living? Oh, I make knives. You got one? No, I don't.
I left it at
You
home.
know what I mean? So like,
Right.
I have to carry my knife every day.
Right. Right.
So it kind of messes up my daily carry for my production knives or whatever.
Right.
But I do have some. I have one custom knife as far as a folder goes, and then I got a couple production knives that are pretty cool. I got a Concept Fenrir. That's what it's called. Yeah. Uh, got an Olamic Whippersnapper.
Okay.
Uh, I got a Rotten Evo, the big scary one. And then what else do I got? I got a Gabco Tiger Shark. That's my custom.
Okay.
That about does it for like my folders. Oh, I still have my. I don't have it sitting around right here, but I still have my Cold Steel Recon one.
Okay.
I don't know how I didn't bring this up earlier. I had that before my Benchmates.
Oh, did
My
you?
Cold
Okay.
Steel Recon one. It's my favorite knife of all time. Maybe not, but I love that knife and it has never failed me.
Yeah. I've got one like that. It isn't necessarily my sexiest knife or whatever. It's my
Right,
Super
right.
Freak. That is my all-time favorite. It is just that one that when it hits your hand, no questions, you're ready to go.
Yep,
So yep.
yep.
So I think
Hell yeah.
everybody probably most I think most everybody has a favorite when it comes right down to it. So,
Oh, for sure, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you started out making fixies. You've kind of worked into making
Yep.
the folders now. Are you still doing fixies as well, and still doing both styles, or are you more focusing on the folders and the development and moving in that direction?
So I am focused on the folders, if you will,
Okay,
but I do definitely still make fixies.
okay.
I mentioned making one for Frankie at what's the point. I made one for Cheeto Bandito. I don't know if you saw that one going around.
I did. I saw it. I'm trying to remember. It was just like about a week and a half ago or something. It was on a live stream. I don't remember how or why I saw it, but I remember seeing it pop up. That was a
Maddie,
beast. Yeah.
either Maddie or Cole broke as knives. One of those two just had it recently on the pass around. So yeah, the
Yeah.
Serrano.
Yeah.
Or Luke 10 was talking about it. I don't know. So many dudes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, that thing was pretty gnarly. Again, Cheeto's design. But so yeah, because I've been focusing on just getting into. So I always wanted to build the high end folders. Like once I learned about them, I was like, that's that's where I want to be. That's the stuff I
Yeah.
want to own. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Right.
I couldn't ever afford it, so I was like, I'm gonna learn how to build it. Well, now I'm
Okay.
building it, so now I'm happy about that. But yeah, the folders were always the goal. So when I started doing that, I also started getting into the whole social media thing.
Okay.
So I started doing a lot more progress pics, a lot more build videos, stuff like that. And now my Instagram is just 300 videos of me making stuff, and you really only see like 10 finished knives throughout everything. You got to scroll through, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
uh, so yeah, you scroll back a couple years on my Instagram, you see a whole bunch of fixies. Uh, and I do still make them, but I just don't really push them because I don't have the time to make new ones and like hustle like what they look like and stuff because I'm working on folders. So it's kind of like it's a good and a bad thing at the same time. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I love fixies. I've always carried a fixie. Uh, but yeah, it's just a time thing now. Like folders take so much time for me to make them that I don't really have enough time to put aside to do like some fixies on the side. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, yep, the
But as far as
demands
like
take precedence.
yeah, for sure. Like I'll
Yeah.
definitely do them on custom order, and I do plan on doing a run of some maybe in the future here. But right now, I'm just kind of focused on getting my folders out in the world so people know who I am, so I can eat food.
Right on, right on. So speaking of getting the word out and being able to eat and make a living and stuff like that, where's the best way for somebody that's interested in a blessed knife to reach out to you and get a hold of you? Is that through
Uh,
Instagram, your email,
yeah,
phone?
currently, Instagram or Facebook is the easiest way to hit me up.
Okay.
And then also my email, which is just blessedknives@gmail.com. Um, those are the best ways. I have a website that's actually up, but it is not really been touched in over a year and a half.
Okay.
Oh, it needs some work. You know what I mean? Like
Right. Right.
now that I'm actually like kind of in the game, selling the folders and stuff, like I'm gonna be working on all that and improving that area.
Okay.
But yeah, Instagram, Facebook, or my email is the best way to get a hold of
Okay.
me.
And we'll make sure when we post this video, we'll get all of your links and stuff put in the description, so people will be able to click in the info below
Oh,
on this
cool.
video and be able to reach out and get a hold of you. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
So, and mainly, kind of speaking of the direction that you're working towards with the knife company, are you gonna obviously got your own designs that you're working on and building? You mentioned that you did one of Cheeto's designs as well. I mean, are you actively pursuing possibly doing like straight up customs, whether it's your design or somebody else's, and working with people in that regard?
I mean, I'm always open to it as long as
Okay,
time is permitted, or if they're willing to wait until like a technical, as far as a time slot goes, book spot comes up. I'm definitely willing to work with people on stuff like that. Had a couple people in the community reach out to me about possibly doing a folder design or something for them. And currently, right now, I'm focusing on my own stuff. But if it's planned ahead of time, I have no problem getting into some funky stuff, man. Like I'm all about learning and trying new things. So
cool. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And that's
yeah.
going to help me learn and grow and change my own way of looking at certain things.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and sometimes isn't it strange how sometimes you need somebody else's crazy idea to lead you in a path to find something that you don't know that you're missing.
No,
So
most definitely, man.
yeah, yeah, sometimes collaborations and putting two minds together is amazing what you come out with. So,
Totally. Yeah, you have
yeah.
different ways of thinking and different outcomes. Yeah, yeah, it's just a mind meld at that point. You kind of figure out what both parties like and come up with a solution.
Right on. Right on. So what's coming up in the future? What future plans? Kind of working through stuff, kind of getting your stuff dialed in. Short term, medium term, long range goals with Blessed Knives. Just kind of day by day, or you got a master plan?
Master plan, I would say to be immortalized like those as Michael Walker Taos or you know, not as touch as that. But this is big dreams here. Uh,
I hope
we'll
that's
go.
on the
We'll
medium
get,
or the long range goal part of
right, right.
it.
Yeah, we'll get down to the short range here.
Right, right.
But no, I'm planning a couple things. I'm planning a couple new models. So I'm working on getting those prototyped. I'll be working on that pretty heavy after the Blade Show. Uh, I'm working on upgrading some tooling. Um, yeah, having a mill would be really nice. Uh, that'd be
Save
really nice.
save a little bit of that flattening time that you've been going through. It sounds
Dude,
like.
it would save a lot of time doing a lot of things, man. Uh, but yeah, upgrade some tooling. Um, I am talked to a water jet company to get just my blanks cut out, like my frames and my blades just blank cut out, because it's going to save me tens to hundreds of hours on just boring, profile cutting. Like
Right,
I don't have to. I feel like I don't have to prove to people that I can cut out a profile of a knife anymore.
right.
Um, and I can't really afford to either. Like I'm starting to get some orders in. I'm not like, ooh, I'm crazy busy, but uh, it stacks up on time. You know what I mean? So everything's still going to be super handmade, but I will probably start getting my blanks water jetted for sure. Yeah,
Nice. That should be
yeah,
a nice time saver. So,
yeah. It's really going to
100%.
help me out, save me a lot of time and money, and be able to get me to the point where I can put out more work for people to be able to get. Because right now I can only build so fast. I can't really satisfy orders to the speed liking I would like. You know what I mean?
Right, right. what I would imagine it would vary probably like most things, but typically from kind of start to finish, about how much time do you have into, one of your folders? Say if you're not getting too crazy,
Oh,
um,
okay. Yeah, yeah, on average, I'd
yeah,
say probably around 30 to 40 hours.
yeah, that's a fair amount
Yeah.
of time. So
Yeah. Yeah. Like again, a lot of hand work, I cut everything out by hand, flatten everything by hand,
yeah, I mean you're
do my own heat.
basically
Now, I do my own heat treating, so nothing gets sent out of my house currently, so it,
nice.
it, it takes me a good while to get a full build done, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean basically you're dealing with roughly about a knife a week, as
Yeah.
far as in 40-hour work week kind of terms.
Yeah, yeah,
By the time you mix in the rest of the stuff for your work day and stuff like that, I mean 30 to 40 hours, you're pretty much getting ready to start working overtime.
yeah, 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 for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So what I know that you've been playing with the fixies longer and the folders a little bit more recently. But since you started, what's your material cost been like? And I ask this because there's been, I think justifiably so, a lot of conversation about pricing, particularly of production knives and whatnot in the community, especially in the last 12 to 24 months. With just the cost of just everything in the country going up. Um, have you seen a pretty good cost increase over those past few years from what you were paying for your raw materials when you started till now?
I've definitely seen an increase due to the fact that I wasn't necessarily a prolific maker. I wasn't selling right out the gate 5 years ago. And because I had a full time job then, uh, I honestly wasn't really even paying attention for a little while.
Gotcha.
I was just trying to learn, you know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I burned through whatever or I scrap whatever. I was like, oh, whatever, I'm tattooing, I'll buy something new. Uh, but over the last couple of years, I've definitely noticed the increase on several things. Steel's gone up a little bit. Noticed sanding belts and stuff like that have gone up significantly, I feel.
Hmm.
Um, so, yeah, no, I've definitely felt that for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I ask you that specifically because I think so many people think that these big companies and big corporations, they don't feel those pains and stuff like that. But being a small business owner, not in the industry that we're talking about, but I mean we see it every day how just the increasing costs have gone up and how it's made it tougher just to make a dollar to feed your family, right? To put food on the table.
Most, no, most definitely. No, yeah, yeah, most
And
definitely.
where you're kind of new in this, and still putting a lot of hand time into it. That's got to make it tough to make a few extra bucks.
Yeah, man. I live pretty basic right now. You know what I mean? Not living lavish.
Right.
Uh, you know, uh, but I'm cool with it. Like so, I was tattooing. I worked at the same tattoo shop for 20 years, um, and then the whole COVID thing hit, and at that point, I'd been playing around with the knife stuff for a couple of years or whatever, and so when COVID hit, our shop shut down, and we were closed for like a year. Um, and my brother kind of bullied me into it, and he was like, "Dude, why don't you just make the knife thing work? You're over tattooing. Just do this." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, all right, we'll play around." You know what I mean? Uh, so I mean, that was really the super kicker on me actually like taking it seriously was tattoo shop being closed and me not making money anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I'm still not really making money, but I'm working on it. It's getting better.
Sure. Sure. Well, it's always a process to
No, I didn't
especially
want
when
that to
you're
turn
learning
right
your
out.
trade as you go. Yeah. Well, no, I
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
as a business person, and like I said,
for sure.
small business people, it's a lot tougher um, to get a small business up and running than it ever has been.
Oh, it's
And
crazy, man.
even when you're working from home, which so many people do anymore, and you can control cost of overhead and more so than you can with the brick and mortar location, it's still tough.
Right.
you
No,
know. So
totally. And
yeah,
I'm learning how to like market myself and all that stuff. I never had to do that. So, like I'm really learning this whole business thing from the ground up. Um, no, I think I'll get a hold of it. I think I'll get a handle on it or whatever. But
right,
it's fresh, it's new. So it's little baby steps and learning curve till you get it right.
right on. Yeah, well, and when you don't, then you just have to try to figure out how to do it different next time. So
That's right.
100%. So
Yeah.
you mentioned social media and getting involved in social media, your Instagram, and I've been through there a fair amount. You've got a really cool collection of stuff in there, so people do need to get over there and check that out.
Thank you very
But
much.
you bet, you bet. But we were talking about it a little bit earlier, and I noticed I think it was last week or the week before in one of the live streams out there. You're trying to get enough subscribers up for your YouTube channel so that you could possibly start to do some more video feed and stuff, possibly do some live streaming from the shop. Did I kind of understand that correctly? That you're kind of
Yeah.
working towards that with your YouTube, possibly on
Yeah, most
Instagram as well?
definitely. Because I kind of want to just start doing live stuff like right from the start, and then I realized that YouTube has like rules. Uh, Not really good with those.
Right.
Uh, so
Yeah,
yeah,
they
it's
try to
it's
keep us in our
hilarious.
lanes as much as they can.
Yeah, I'm not real fond of that.
Right.
But so I kind of reached out and I was just like, yo, like, because I'm not like even on social media like Instagram and stuff. I've never been like, hey, go follow me. Like, hey, go, which I should probably for like just personal business reasons, but never been the numbers hound. Like, I don't, sir. My problem is I really like making things. I really like making art. I really like making things that people enjoy. I don't like money because I'm like a weird hippie, even though I'm like 40 and not a hippie at all. Uh, yeah, so the whole business aspect has always kind of eluded me in life. So I'm getting used to all that.
Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting balance to try to find between your craft and surviving while doing your craft.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah,
Like I was the same way tattooing. Like, well,
right on.
yeah, I'll do that for $40. That's fine. My coworkers are like, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
Charge 80." And I'm like, "Well, they're having a bad day."
Right. I hear you. And you just made their day better. That's right on.
Yeah,
And
too
that's the tough thing
simplistic
is
a thought.
yeah, where do you have to be selfish and where do you just have to let your creativity come out and share, right? So
That's right.
it's tough sometimes to figure out how to handle those. So very cool. Well, I'll do the shouting out for you, guys. You guys need to get over and follow Bless Knives, and get on his social, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Follow him out there. So because he's got some really cool stuff, and it sounds like you've got some more cool stuff coming down the pipe. So I know I'm looking forward to. I think you said you're going to be at Blade Show West coming up here in a few weeks,
Yes, sir.
and
Table 12M.
12M at Blade Show West. That's 2024 if you catch this down the road. Blade Show West, Salt Lake City, coming up here in just a few weeks, the first week in October. So I don't have those dates in front of me. I think 4th or 5th, I think, of October are
Yeah,
the dates on Blade West. So
third and fourth or fourth and fifth. I can't remember.
right on. Yeah. So I'm looking forward. That's gonna be my first Blade show, and looking forward to
Oh,
being there for a
cool.
number of reasons. But I'm
Awesome.
very, very much looking forward to coming by and I was trying to. We were talking a little bit in the live. I think what was it? Was it I think a week ago. And I was trying to remember if I'd ever had the opportunity to handle one of your knives, and I didn't think I had. But I couldn't remember when Stevie had gotten his, and he was the one that I was trying to wonder, did he have it the last time that and I think it's too new. So
Yeah,
I haven't even
he
had a
just
chance
got
to
a.
handle one of yours. So I'm looking
Oh,
forward to
word. Okay.
stopping by the table and checking out all the good stuff. So
Excellent. Excellent.
yeah. So I do love on some of your posts and stuff that you've got on here, and I think on some of the YouTube channels. I love your shop stuff when you're showing your process and whatnot, and it's very cool. So,
it's nice to hear that because I don't know. Sometimes I post up videos. I'm like, I don't know. People like to see stuff getting made, and then I post up the video, and I'm like, I don't know. Is that a good view? Do people even care what I'm doing at this moment? Like, I'm just beveling. Like, I don't know. Like,
mhm.
so it's always nice to hear feedback that people are enjoying it. You know what I mean? Like, that's cool.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, I struggle with the same thing sometimes. And we'll just give another shout out to anybody watching at this point. Put your comments and questions and thoughts down in the comments on this
Yeah.
video or any other video where you're watching it and have it. So I think most of us love that feedback, the feedback and the input,
Oh, most
so that we
definitely.
can learn. I know just in the short time that I've been doing this channel, I've put some content together solely based off of I just wanted to do it and I didn't think anybody would watch it. And I've also put
Hmm.
some content together based on the fact that, oh, they're going to love this, even though maybe it wasn't, would have been my first choice. They're going to love it. And you never know how people are going to react, you know?
For sure.
And
For sure.
sometimes the stuff that you're just kind of putting out there and maybe one or two people watch it. That's been some of the favorite stuff that I've put on my channel, where I've got the best feedback, so
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes we can be our own worst enemies as far as picking and
Oh no,
chooses what we
totally.
think people want to see, right?
That's yeah, definitely,
So,
man, definitely.
yeah. Well, and quite honestly, what we're doing right now, the Pocket Talk series, it was something that I really wanted to do and knew I wanted to do it even before we launched the channel and whatnot. And I wasn't sure if, especially when these get a little bit on the longer form side of things, how much people would like them. And quite honestly, did the first two or three mainly because I wanted to. But it's been very surprising and positive feedback to the point that, almost every week in the live stream now, people ask, when's the next one coming out? When's the next one coming out? And
And
it's
I
neat
can
to
tell
get
you the
that
reason.
feedback.
I can tell you the reason for that, sir.
Mm,
As far as my opinion is concerned, is because uh, you're kind of well prepared, and you ask a question and you let the person talk, and you really like, I don't know, you let me ramble for I don't know how long already. You know what I mean? So you don't interrupt. Not that you can't interrupt. You can interrupt me anytime you want. But I feel like you're really good at like provoking stories out of people.
well, thank you. So
Yeah,
I appreciate that, and that's kind of the whole point. Of this we want your story. So yeah, so I love
yeah,
that. Love the feedback too. Thank you. So,
yeah, yeah.
so but yeah, no, it's an interesting path that we've chosen in the social media world,
Oh,
and
it's crazy.
it really is. But our community, we talk about it a fair amount. It's
It
just
is.
amazing how supportive they are.
It's so
And
good.
yeah, I would imagine you're surprised at how people would just reach out to you out of the blue, and that's I think the thing that shocked me the most by doing this is just the wonderful feedback the community gives to you, even when you think that maybe nobody's interested. So
Definitely, man.
yeah.
Yeah, I've met a lot of good people through this community. So many now. I don't. Even, I can't even. I'm not even gonna sit here and name them. But all thanks to said Stevie. What up?
Hmm.
Uh, that man. Met him, and he's turned me on to a lot of people and got me a lot of friends. And not even because of exposure. I'm not even talking about that. Just like he's gotten me a lot of friends in this community
Hmm.
because, he invited me in.
Yeah, 100%. And that's really at the core of the community. That's kind
Yeah,
of why I think it is the community that it is.
for sure.
Um, I've been asked a few times. People say, "Well, you keep talking about this community. How is it different than any other community?" It's like, well, it's hard to explain. You get a group of mostly men together, and you put them in a room, and you start talking about knives and tools and gear and stuff like that. And it's surprising what kind of kindness and just
Yeah, and somehow we
wonderful
bond
support comes
over
out of
something.
it. And
Yeah.
it's I think the one that for me sums it up the most is when it comes right down to it, we're knife and gear nerds, and everybody else around us, our coworkers, our family, they're sick and tired of hearing us talk about it. So we have no other choice but then to come together as a community and support each other.
I
So
talk my brother. I was talking to my brother. I'm like, hey Ernie, he lives with me. He goes to all the shows with me. He's my backer. I'm like, hey, you see my new post? And he's like, no. Why would I watch your posts? because he sees it every day here in the house.
Right,
And he's like
yeah.
my goal now. Oh, you want to know what my goal is? Is to now impress my brother.
There you go.
Because
So,
now, anytime I do something new that I think is good, he was like, "Well, yeah, why weren't you doing that before?" And I'm like,
right, right. So the victory will be when he stops you or he calls you up and says, "Dude, I just watched your latest content. It was awesome."
"Yeah, exactly, exactly." Like, woo!
Right on, right on.
Yeah, yeah,
This is all about the small victories, right? I love it. So
exactly,
very
exactly.
cool, very cool. So Blade West is coming up in a few weeks. We're gonna all show up. We're gonna swarm your table and
Woo!
discover
Please
all your
do.
goodness and clean you out, so you can go back and reload and come back with some more. Any other
That would
plans
be
or
great.
shows? What's that?
Uh,
The dream?
I said that. Yeah, that would be a dream. If I sell out, if I can sell all my blades at Blade West, I should be able to afford to get into Blade Texas if I can still get a spot. If not, then I don't know what my next show will be. I want to get into a smaller show,
Gotcha,
but I don't really know how to get into certain ones yet.
gotcha. Still
I
working
just
through
because
that
I've never
process.
researched it, like Maker Syndicate or Friday Night Blade Affair. I don't know. There's so many now, and I don't know. I just don't even know about. I got to email somebody. I bet.
Right on. Yeah, probably got to kind of start beating the pavement a little bit.
You know,
The hard part
and
with those darn shows is trying to figure out how to afford the booth fees.
so that's
Holy
a big thing, and
smokes.
that's why I mentioned uh, if I sell out, I'd be able to do this because I can't really afford to be taking plane rides around the country here. So when I'm going to a show, I got to sell, at least half the knives I'm taking to pretty much pay for my whole trip and all that stuff. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? With the table fee, the build costs, the travel costs. You know, I got friends in town that are like, "Oh, you're selling $1,000 knives at the show, and you sold four. You're good." I'm like, "Nah, I paid for my trip, and I got like a little bit."
Yeah, right.
I mean, but that's what shows aren't about making big money. At least, I mean, it might be for other makers and more
Yeah.
established makers, but coming from the tattoo world, shows are about networking. They're about meeting people. They're about getting your name out there, letting
Hmm.
people get hands on your work, see your craft.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily be like I'm not. If I wanted to make money, I'd take 20 knives or 30 knives. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but it's not really necessarily about that. I need to make enough money to make it to the next show, basically. You know what I mean? Like,
100%. No, and I think
as
you're
far as
right.
my own personal weirdness is.
Right. Well, I mean, like we've talked about several times already, it's a process you got to work through. And, I agree with you 100%. The shows, it's about networking, marketing, essentially getting out there, getting well known. But, the thing for me, especially since we're talking about knives and custom knives in particular, I think for a lot of people, depending on, what community you live in, some people just don't have the opportunity to experience. I mean, it's one thing to have a knife shop in your town. And if you're lucky, you have a good knife shop in your town. I live in a community where we have some decent knife stores, but not a good quality knife shop, right? You're not going
Okay.
to see customs and the stuff that, to go in and get to handle, whether it's a
Right.
hundred, $500, $5,000 knife. It just doesn't exist in this town. And I think there's a lot of communities out there. And that's what's, and you had mentioned that, I think earlier on in our conversation about how until you had a chance and put a custom in your hand, you didn't really know that was your thing. You didn't know that's what you wanted to do until it hit your hand. And then, the tuning fork, goes off, right? And you
Yeah.
say, right on. So,
You
and that's
pick
what
it
I think
up.
about, these shows and getting out there and, like for me, that's aside from meeting a lot of people from the community, which is my first thing that I'm excited about going to Blade West for, is to get to experience stuff that hasn't really been in my wheelhouse. You
Most
know, I,
definitely.
I haven't handled a lot of custom folders. I just haven't. And it's not that they're not attractive to them, but you don't just usually most people don't call up and order $1,000 custom off of the internet site of
No, yeah, I
saying, you
never
know what I
have.
mean? I don't.
Yeah, yeah. Same,
you know,
same here, man.
yeah. And there's just nothing better than getting something put in your hand for the first time. It happened to me. Big Red EDC did it to me with Finch knives. and we were
All
to
right.
meet up here a couple years ago, and he pulled his collection out, and I was aware of the Finch knives. I thought they were cool, but until I had one in my hand, I didn't really appreciate it. They had a feel and a balance, and they're generally a smaller knife. And with a guy with big hands, I don't generally go looking at too many small knives just to try out. But when it hit the hand and the feel and the action and the balance, all of a sudden it made sense, right? And it was like, yeah, fireworks going on. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
well, I found a new place to play.
Yep.
Benchmade, Rosecraft. I've got several of those kind of deals of how I ended up there, and being
For
fans of
sure.
them. But even some of the Finches, you're not finding them in this town. You're
Right.
finding the Gerbers, you're finding the Spydercoats, the Benchmades. You're
Yep.
finding the gas station knives.
Yeah.
Rarely are
Yeah.
you going to find any kind of a custom. So I'm really looking forward to checking your stuff out and so much other stuff at Blade West. So
Yeah, man. Thank you.
yeah,
And there's gonna be some great stuff there, man. I'm looking forward to checking out some dude stuff too, man.
yeah, very cool, very cool. So anything we're kind of getting a little long in the tooth. We've been going about an hour here. Any other information you kind of want to share with the community out there that we
Hmm.
haven't kind of covered so far?
No, I don't really think so, man. I kind of talked about like working on my water jet stuff, so I'll be able to actually make some drops and stuff instead of just building to order, basically. So that's going to be cool for some people to be able to have the opportunity to buy my work who wanted to, but haven't been able to get in, or it's just taking a while, or that whole ordeal.
Right. Yeah.
It just gives me more opportunity to create more for more people, which is awesome.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm working on that. I should have some T-shirts coming later in there, so that's fun.
Right
But I
on.
don't. Other than that, I don't know. No real news. I'm just kind of
Okay.
nose to the grindstone right now, getting ready for West. Got a lot of work ahead of me still in this next week, but confident that I'm gonna have everything finished up in good time.
Right on. Right on. So,
Yeah,
well, I sure appreciate you coming on. I will make sure that not only I'm going to stop by at Blade West and check out your stuff, but we'll pull the camera out a little bit and we'll try to maybe get you to show us a few things on camera there, and then we'll try to get it posted back on the channel as soon as we get an
very
opportunity to
cool.
do that as well. And yeah, whenever you want to come back on, you got some new stuff you want to talk about or shout out, by all means, let me know. Would love to have you
Excellent.
back. I really appreciate you taking time out of your evening to sit down with me and tell us your story. I've learned a lot, as we just talked about before this. You and I have been kind of aware of each other, but didn't really know each other, and
For sure.
that's becoming one of my favorite things about doing this is what I get to learn about you. And tonight it was your turn. So thank you. I appreciate you sharing your story with me and the community. And
Thank you for having me, man.
you betcha. You betcha. And we're going to go ahead and kind of wind this up and start to get ready to get out of here, everybody. Make sure that you get over and you check out Bless Knives. And as we discussed before, we'll get all of his links and social information and contact information in the description on this video. And if you're going to be at Blade West, make sure you stop by and stop by the table and check it out in person. And just remember, everybody, what Brother Zach likes to say. We're big proponents of it around here. Do something kind for somebody. It is the way. And until next time, we're going to hit you with the old peace out. And Mr. Donald Bless, thank you so much. Appreciate you. And we'll
Thank
catch
you.
you here in just a few weeks, my man. So
Sounds good.
take care.
You too.